Hello, everyone. It's Colleen Ferrary from Steel Heels. I am so happy to be here today, and welcome to our interview series where I bring to you some of the most inspiring women, surprising women, not always the most public, but the ones that have inspired me to greatness. Today, I'm talking to Jessica Robinson. And if you don't know who Jessica Robinson from Pure Point International is, you should. She's a young, dynamic woman who is really leading her industry in helping medium-sized businesses protect themselves and stay safe. More importantly, when you listen to this interview today, I want to make sure that you listen for her courage. And when people told her no, how she turned those words into something more powerful that said, yes, I can. Enjoy the interview. She is so inspiring. She's got so much energy, and I really think you'll take a lot away from today's call. Enjoy. Hello, you Steel Heels women out there. Today, I am so honored to have with me this young superstar who inspires me, Jessica Robinson. Thank you for joining us, Jessica.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be with you, Colleen.
So I want to give a little rundown of Jessica and all of the things that she does. I mean, she's just endless. She's this little superpower that runs around New York City. But Jessica worked for the private sector for 10 years, so she's got her corporate little jab in the arm there. But I think that's a fun story that we'll get into a little bit later. And she's done so much work building up herself and educating herself, and got tired of corporate world and started her own business. Didn't get what she wanted, so she created what she wanted with Pure Point International. And she's now an outsourced chief security officer with middle market businesses and startups and international nonprofits. I mean, so cool. She's on the faculty of the Emerging Global Leaders Program with Impact Leadership 21, training leaders how to create safe and empowered workplaces as a 21st century global leader. Jessica is redefining not only what it means to be a leader in the security industry, but she's also creating a new vision of what it would mean to live in a consciously secure world. So I want you to tell me a little bit about that. She is a writer and number one best-selling co-author. Jessica, tell us a little bit about Pure Point. What do you want everyone to know? I think you skipped. There's so many things I skipped, like your involvement with the UN Women. And come on. There's so many questions I want to ask you, but what do you want everyone to know about Pure Point?
So Pure Point is a mission-driven company that has security services and supports small and medium-sized businesses to really bridge the gap between physical security and cybersecurity. In today's world, where I think this is an industry that is still very much run by individuals that have a military background, that are of a certain age or over a certain age, that are male, and also typically white male, this is an opportunity for to have a different and a fresh approach to safety and security. And so the Pure Point itself is really the intersection of the core values, which is security, humanism, partnership, and leadership. And it's really meant to bring consciousness into security, because if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's really at the base. Safety and security is pivotal for all of us, just to be able to live a full life where we can even just reach our full potential. And so it's really taking a very fresh approach to be able to solve people's needs in business, but also in life.
I love something that you said to me when we first met was, she said, all I wanted to do is do business internationally. And they wouldn't let me, so dang it, here I go.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. So I want to ask you about Mission Unstoppable. I love this. So Mission Unstoppable, for anyone who doesn't know and who hasn't read it, it's an amazing book. It's got a lot of little vignettes in there, right? Some really inspiring stories. It's written with Dr. George Fraser and one of my favorite motivators of all time, Les Brown. And if anybody doesn't know him, maybe this "Are you hungry?" will kind of inspire you. He just brings it and gets you fired. So let's talk about Mission Unstoppable first. I think What do you think they saw in you, Jessica Robinson?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. George, this was really George Fraser's baby. He really wanted to produce a book around challenges that people are facing nationally, but also internationally, and then also particularly within the African American community. And he wanted to have different stories that people could relate to. And within this book, I had an opportunity to talk with George, and I just told him about some of the challenges that I faced. One of the things that I, tell people is that I really have kind of failed my way to success, and being able to sit down and talk with him about my, personal life and also my business life. He, after talking with him, the first thing he said is, "You have a lot of courage, like incredible amount of courage. Yes, you are part of this project." And then that was it. And that's all he said. That was it. And then we moved on. So it was great. It was also reaffirming because I think it was also at a point in my life where I was ready to be more open about the challenges that I faced. Also just kind of, I think, sometimes it's difficult to talk about failures and talk about challenges, but I think I was at a point where I was ready to be more open and also to be able to help others navigate their own challenges.
So, you had said to me, I see myself as someone who had always failed my way to success.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it means that, I knew the direction I wanted to go, but I didn't always know how to get there. And so I just seen that as I was kind of going down a particular road or starting a journey that I would really fail along the way. I had to learn how to, for example, working in the private sector, I had to, found my way to learning how to be a leader that can lead a great team. And, I had to found my way to learning how to deliver an effective message that can really resonate across an entire group of people. And I think that was never lost on me. I was never someone who always focused on my successes. I was always focused on how to be better. And I think the only way that we can be better, at least for me personally in my journey, what I've learned is really learning and focusing on what hasn't gone well so that we can actually be better. And so for me, that's what that means, that I've kind of failed my way to success. So, yeah.
So I want to talk about you get out of college. And so some people will probably make this connection, but Jessica and I share a shared background with Target. I spent a lot of years in senior leadership with Target. So this part of the story probably resonates more for me than anyone. But watching so many college students come out of school with a ton of debt,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, what are you, like 22, 23 years old out of college, and we put you in charge of 300 people, right?
Yeah, right.
And we say, okay, sink or swim, baby, you got this.
Right, exactly.
But kind of tell me, you really quickly rose through the ranks. After 18 months, you were promoted, and how many people did you have to influence at that point?
Well, so what happened was, within about 6 months with the company, I was already preparing to go through pay grade interviews. And so I went through those interviews, so that went well. So the next step was at the 18-month mark was to go through promotional interviews to go to the district level. And I was in the DC area. And so the DC area is considered a tough market, a high-risk market. And so the view is that I would stay in that market and help to run that market, which, and that thought process that had never really been done before for a high-risk market. And from what I was told, that was just from what I was told. But I went through interviews and they didn't go so well. I was at the time considered a do not recommend. I was still considered very early and young in my role and in my career, that there was still time for me to mature. And so what I did at that point, and that was really challenging because my district leader, my group leader at the time were extremely supportive. And so I think it was a shock to all of us that happened. But I knew that there was time for me to mature. I was, I was only 18 months enrolled, and I knew that I had a lot to learn. And so I made a point to spend time with mentors, spend time with other leaders within that area, and to be able to really focus on my time with my team and to be able to grow. And so 6 months later, I went back through interviews and I was promoted. And so I didn't go in for this particular position, but I did go into a headquarters role and moved to Philadelphia and worked out of our regional office. And then my next position after that was moving to New York and taking on that high risk market. And, I think this is a great example of everything happens for a reason, because I wouldn't be in New York now if I didn't, at least who knows where I would be now if I had actually gotten through. And I love the life that I live. I love New York. And so it's hard for me to not imagine being here. And I think this is also an example of no regrets and, being thankful of learning through the journey.
Yeah, I love that. A couple things that you just said really resonated for me, and I hope it resonates for our listeners, that it's so important to appreciate and enjoy the journey. And even though sometimes we think we know what that journey is, we miss pieces, and life brings us down a different path that might be better for us. Yeah. I want to talk about those words, do not recommend. Right? Because these are powerful words to give to a young woman.
Yeah.
How did that kind of work with your psyche? Like, tell me, what did that mean to you when you heard those words?
I think for me, it was definitely shocking. I still remember when I got the call, because I was actually just driving back. I'd driven to Philadelphia for the interview, and I believe I was still driving back at the time, and it was it was dark outside. It was like 7 p.m. And I just remember it was like numb. I was just this incredibly numb feeling, and also a feeling of disappointment. And it wasn't necessarily for myself, but it was for the people that had supported me throughout the process, because I felt like they had really invested a lot. And then, what I also learned is it wasn't necessarily just what I felt, it was what other people felt too, because people responded differently to me after that. And so, it was for me, I think that was an interesting part as well. And so, and I think that was when I started to understand on a global scale how important this really was, when I felt that. And, but I truly felt that personally that I had a lot to learn. I truly felt that, and I was just in a position to learn. I was just hungry to learn as much as I could, and I felt I was in the right position to do it. I felt I had the right leaders to learn. And so for me, it just made me more hungry. It made me want to work even harder. And it made me, it just kind of set in this deeper desire to be able to speak.
You know what I love, and I wish everyone could take that, but I think where you inspire me is not everybody is wired like that. That you get that turn down, you get somebody to say, do not recommend. Those are pretty tough words, but to go and take that adversity and work harder to reassess, bring the right mentors into your life, and to assess what you did wrong and what you need to do better is an amazing skill that everyone needs to have in their toolbox, and not everyone has. So you said people responded to you differently after that feedback. How did they respond to you differently?
People were kind of, it was challenging, because people were really surprised at why would a campus recruit be going to interview for a high risk market after 18 months. Like people didn't understand it. And so I think a lot of people were like, yeah, we knew she didn't have it. So that was the first thing.
Ouch.
I remember, right.
Does that motivate you?
Right. No, yeah.
That motivates me. Yeah, I'm like, exactly. What? I can have it? Bring it on.
It did. And then this interview was on a Friday. The following Tuesday, I was set to be on what was called a new enroll panel for new enrolls that were now coming into this market. And so I was late getting there because it was an hour away. And so when I arrived, I just kind of rushed in. There were probably 50 to 60 people in the room, and there was an open chair on the panel. So I literally ran in and just jumped on the panel. And then the person who was facilitating, who was my boss's peer, turned around and saw that I was on the panel, and she just looked at me in front of everyone and said, "Oh, Jessica, you're actually here." And I said, yeah, I apologize for being late, and I don't come to this area very often. This is a geographical area. And she just said, "Oh, we just actually didn't think you were going to be here today."
Oh, that's just a big old dumb case of foot and mouth disease.
Yeah. And so for her to say that in front of everyone, and I realized that I think for me at that moment, I'd realized that everybody knew what had happened. And it wasn't just, people at one level, but it was everybody. All my peers knew what happened. All my, people now in that room had had an understanding, or at least, were interested, if they didn't know what happened, they were going to understand or try to learn around the context of that statement, what happened. And I think that just helps me as a leader to be able to understand the impact of the footprint of a leader that a leader has, in a market.
Oh, that's a great story. I love that it brought you to the next level, and I love that it motivated you. And 6 months later, and I think people need to hear this really loud and clear, you can have an adversity. You can have somebody stomp on you and say no. You can have, the opinion of 3 or 4 or 5 people is not your reality, and it never has to be your reality, right?
Exactly.
So you spent how long with Target?
I spent nearly 10 years with Target.
So 10 years. So
10 years.
What, 32, 33 years old, you just say they're not giving me, you kind of climb up the ranks there, and they're not giving me what I want, and you start your own business.
Yeah, well, it was also, one of the things I'm deeply passionate about, and something I've always wanted to do since I was younger, is work in the area of safety and security. I think the question was, what would I do? And I didn't know what that was. I actually have a twin sister that's with the Secret Service. So the funny thing is we both were just really on this path. And I think before I started working with Target, and I had other experiences kind of working in the field, one of the things that always came up was what makes people safe. And whether in my background's international affairs, so whether it was working with an organization on intractable conflicts in Burma, Sri Lanka, and India, whether it was being at Target and working in a state, which is Virginia, that allows open carry of guns to come into any location, or concealed weapons, the way to see the way the team responded when people would walk in with a gun and they didn't feel comfortable with that. To see, and as you know, we dealt with everything from burglaries to robberies, to sexual assaults, misconduct, stalkings, and to see, to see people go through this. I mean, that, and to constantly be doing all of that takes you learn a different part of humanity, and you learn what it takes to be able to help people and inspire people to be able to be their best self. And so one of the questions that always stood with me for throughout the 10 years, even before that, was what really makes people safe. And that really started me on a journey of, well, what can I really contribute to this global conversation around what it really means to be safe, how to make people safe no matter where you are in the world, whether you're traveling, whether you're in a conflict in Syria, or whether you're in a country like America where you're in a shopping environment. And so that really started me on wanting to create a company that started to really bring consciousness into security, which is really thinking about how do we create a more consciously secure world where everyone can really be empowered to harness their personal power to create safe space.
We have so many conversations with, especially with recent terror attacks. I mean, it's just been horrible out there. And we have a lot of conversations with our Generating Winners team. So for anybody that doesn't know, we, Small Business USA and Steel Heels, myself, we sponsor a website called Generating Winners, and we do a lot of programs to help raise money for schools so we can bring awareness and get schools what they need. And we really try to enter schools through the PTO, because we believe that parents and teachers together working towards a common goal towards our children are going to place the money in the right places better. But one of the conversations that we've had with a lot of our children's psychologists has been, how do we talk to our children about terror? And it's on TV every day. I mean, something new. It's exhausting. But, you in particular are doing work with UN Women, and then your international security with your business. And I just wonder, what does security mean? What does that mean for you and for women in particular?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So for me, security means a few different things. It's a much broader scope than I think the traditional way that we view security here in America. I think globally, for women particularly that don't, and children who don't have access to some of the things that we have advantage of here in a first world country, which can sometimes be as basic as being able to walk down the street without having a gun go off, or not, or worrying about stepping on a field mine. But it's really about having equal access, having an equal voice, and helping to solve problems within your community, and also to be able to solve concerns and to be part of a participatory process around any type of conflict that's taking place in your area. So this is specifically more important for areas that are in conflict, like Syria, Iraq, and other places around the world. Number two, it means having a proper access to healthcare. And so even here in America, as we're going through the election right now, this is an important discussion. But having proper access to healthcare is a safety and security issue. And it's important that people also look at it that way, because if a woman doesn't have proper access to healthcare, she can't provide a safe environment for her child. And that is a fact that we've seen over and over again. The third thing is being able to be in a place where you feel just safe and confident that your child can walk to school and not be harmed. That your child isn't bullied at school, that you as a woman can travel around the world and not be assaulted or not be a target because you're a woman. It means being able to also be empowered to know how to mitigate any type of circumstances that could happen for you in the workplace or while you're out by yourself. Online dating, for example, is something that's new. I get lots of questions about this, and how do you stay safe while you're online dating? And all of this is really what it means to be safe for a woman, but also for a child. And the best way to be able to do this is through continued education around past, but also to enroll men in the conversation and have them as true allies so that they can help us and also being able to create safe spaces. But lastly, what I'll just say too is that it's important for women to be able to feel confident and to be able to set boundaries within any relationship that they have, because that's really the first kind of, what I would say, way that we can be empowered to be able to be in a safe space for ourselves and for our family.
So I wanted your best friend. I don't know who it is, but I'm assuming she's not in security. We're just going to take it, right? Your best friend is about to jump on a plane and travel internationally. What advice would you give her?
I would say, first off, just see if there are any travel bans or alerts on the State Department website. I would say make sure that you have a cell phone with you at all times. Make sure that you are communicating with someone, so it can be a parent, boyfriend, friend, whatever, about where you're going, what your itinerary is, where you plan on being. If you're going to meet someone there, or if you're going there for a meeting, making sure that they're aware as well, so they know when you're coming in and where you're going to be staying. I would also say, check out. You can do like Google searches to find out if there's been any particular type of, recent reports in the newspaper for any type of crime that's been going on or any type of social unrest that's going on in a particular area. And then the last thing I would say is have fun. Just have fun, okay? Because life is meant to be lived. Many of us love traveling. Don't ever allow what's going on in the world today to stop you from traveling.
Amen. Amen. I am one of those people who I really love to travel alone, because I feel that it forces me to get more involved in the culture of where I'm going.
Yeah.
I would never, not that I ever want my daughter to travel alone. I really particularly enjoy it. I mean, we do a lot of group vacations, but I totally enjoy that moment to sit in a piazza in Italy, watch the world go by, and try my best to speak Italian and talk to the natives. But so I love that last message is, we have to enjoy every moment and not live in fear, but there is some commonality, common threads. Like as you were telling that, I think anybody who goes on Match.com, rewind this podcast.
Right.
But again, right? It's exactly the same. Right. I have a girlfriend, every time she goes out on a date, I'm like, I want to know everything you know about him. And it's not because of fear, but I mean, there's just some craziness that happens. So why put yourself at risk? We have too much to lose, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right, Jessica, I want everybody to know how impressive you are. And sometimes it's not easy in a podcast situation, but I mean, girl, you have it going on.
Oh,
you have an amazing business. You've taken such risk. You have so much courage in everything that you say, and it really shines through. I totally understand why they wanted you to be part of Mission Unstoppable. You have an incredible message and presence, and I love it. Your fearlessness jumps out. So I'm going to ask, now here comes a really tough question, right?
Okay.
Who inspires you?
Oh, wow. That is a great question. You know, I'm inspired by people, all individuals that take risks, because it's not easy. I'm inspired by people that start businesses. I'm inspired by people who are doing what's considered impossible. And that is really what supports me. And then, that's in general. And I say that, and that's very general and not specific, because I'm inspired by a lot of the people that I meet. So that's really the point of what I'm saying.
I'm not letting you off the hook, Jessica.
Yeah. So specifically, what I would say, yes, I'll give you a name. So I would say, in giving you a name, I would say I'm extremely inspired by, let's say, a woman in business, Sarah Blakely. If we talk about someone in politics, then I would say someone like Mandela Gandhi King. Someone who really focuses on women issues, Gloria Steinem, of course. I'm inspired, within the African American community. I'm inspired by the 3 women that started the movement of Black Lives Matter. And so, because they have created this presence nationally and that has gone international, that has really helped to then, keep alert some of the concerns that the citizens of this country have. And so, in the end, I'm inspired by people who are making a difference in the lives of others, because that's what I aspire to do.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the common theme I'm seeing is people who are making a difference in the lives of others, that are brave enough to go out there and start something important. That's awesome. Very, very inspiring. Will you inspire me? So.
Right, well, thank you. Thank you. Well, you're doing incredible work with this show, and supporting women and their businesses, and you inspire me. I think what you're doing is really incredible.
Thanks.
I mean, it really, truly is.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so looking forward to, every day with Small Business USA, we make a big difference with business owners. But women in particular, when a woman is a business owner, and I can speak for myself too, the whole balance of being fierce, leading in a business world, and separating yourself from the competition is hard enough anyway.
Yeah.
Right. But then you add kids and husbands, and the fact that women take on so much more in their life. And Jack Welch, we said this in an earlier episode, but Jack Welch said, women can't be successful as CEOs because they can't put business in front of everything else. Well, I'm a firm believer that you can have more than one priority. You just know how to balance. You have to know how to balance it. So
I agree.
Steel Heels brings women a little closer every day to balancing that.
Yes, I agree 100%, 100%. And I also found that working with a lot of leaders over the years, I was always impressed by not only how people, and men too, how they balance both life of being a leader but also a father. But I also found that they had a lot more patience with people at work when they were a parent. And that was always something that I admired. And so I think there's a lot of give and take between the role of being a parent and being a leader. And I'm sure you know all about that.
That's a whole nother podcast. I've always said, I've led some pretty big teams, and I've always said, if you could take those leadership skills from home and apply them to your family, you'd have a pretty happy family. And or vice versa, if you could take those parenting skills and apply them to your team, what could you accomplish?
It's really
not dissimilar. But
yes, I agree.
Jessica Robinson, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you on here. You inspired me. You made me think loud and clear about being courageous.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. And it's wonderful to be with you. And also everything that you're doing is really inspiring to me. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Hey, ladies, here's to your success. Put on those steel heels and be courageous. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.